again.
We always do all the precious banter.
Always the way.
Oh,
It's the problem with an actual friendship is that you want to talk, and then you use all
just
up your friend
yeah.
points.
I'm like I'm done talking to you now. I want to go
Yeah.
and
Yep.
play some bloody video game. So thanks. Wait, no, this is on your channel. You have to introduce it.
Oh yeah. Hello, everyone. This is the Dias Cast, which is me and Rob talking about things on the internet. Rob is from Performance Check. This is your LDM.
It's great to be here, Lloyd.
Thanks for making all this way.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yep.
Pleasure.
Right.
As an organized person, just in general, I didn't open the thing with the questions. But
Oh, good. Yeah.
I
I
think we
should.
should start by this has just not gone well at all.
No.
Lloyd, this is what happens when you surprise me by just hitting the. This is what happens. I just wasn't ready, like at all. Like I have nothing open. Oh my gosh. No.
Here, I'll send you
The
this.
first question I was going to ask you, I had to ask you something because I sense that you want to talk about something, and that's competitive RPGs. There's been like a post come up today, and I find it really interesting, and I wanted to get your take on it.
Yeah, it's so like the brigade. I left the YouTube RPG brigade. I don't know, like 3 years ago, I guess, or more. They have a Facebook group, and I left that a long time ago. And in the first Brigade Con, I played some games, and in the second Brigade Con, I ran a bunch of games. I ran a game in every slot, I think, or I had one slot that I wasn't running in. So basically, there was only one 4-hour block during that Brigade Con where I wasn't doing something, which is a disaster. And then it all kind of like fell apart. There was like lots of fighting in the brigade about various things. And lots of people who I really like left, and people who have been running Brigade Con and stuff left, and now it's like run by different people who I also like mostly. But there's like this idea now that they're going to include the World RPG Championship,
Yeah.
which seems to me like the way they call the World Series in baseball. You know, like is it really the world? If it's is it really? I think it's very cheeky to call it the World Championship when it's one small online convention.
Right. What about those D&D role players in Namibia? Are they involved?
Exactly. What about all of the people who play D&D and don't do it online? What about just I don't know. Like it's extremely cheeky. It's also the worst idea I've ever heard in my life. I hate it. I hate it so much. And I put that post up to test the waters to see if other people also hated it before I went on a polemic and was like, listen.
So my only understanding of competitive role playing in any sense was more along the lines of general shit talking amongst separate players, separate gaming groups rather, that would go to conventions and stuff. Like the Tomb of Horrors was a competitive dungeon. That's why it was invented. Right. It was invented so people could show up at conventions and try their players against the hardest dungeon that that's ever been created by the father of D&D himself, Gygax. And then people's progress was generally how people determined how successful they were. Thus, it became sort of competitive. That's what I thought it was. I wasn't aware that there was like a table. I mean, how do you score that? That's like saying we're going to have we're going to have like a painting. Oh no, but you can have a painting competition. But this is the thing: who has the right to judge?
Right.
These things?
Like, let's say that you are a professional art critic, right? Maybe then you can. I still don't agree with it fully because I think all art is subjective, just 100%.
Well, also my analogy kind of melted like a digested biscuit in tea. So, like I mean,
I'll tell you this: I've been to lots of pieces of theater that I thought were just the worst. We're just so shite, but critics are like, it was a masterpiece. This fucking like and like if the opinion can be that divisive on something. Like, then surely it can be that divisive on how a person plays a role-playing game. Like, it's not something that you can judge. It's not something that I can judge. Like, and that's the kind of qualification that the person judging has. Like, what?
I
Like,
agree.
just what?
I mean, there's the other aspect to it, which I think it's because we're looking at this more as like a role playing game, which is what they're called, admittedly. Um, but I think people are putting it more down to like mechanics, aren't they? And like how well their character will do in a simulated environment, you know,
Right,
versus
but that's
the
not what this one in Brigade Con is. Like, if that was the case, if no, if the case was, here's a very difficult thing, and here's how well you can do it, your team can do it in a short amount of time.
yeah,
Like,
that's what I thought it was.
that's a competition, right?
Yeah,
That's
that's
I
what I
can
thought
see
it
it.
was.
No, 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 no. This is like at the end, you rate all the other players on how their role playing was and how much they like contributed to the story and things like that. That's why it's so ridiculous to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that what that? Oh, okay, I must have missed that bit. That's
Yeah.
absolutely hysterical.
Isn't it?
What do you mean? You finished the game, and I say, "Well, actually, Lloyd, I think you're a C. I think you got a C in that game.
Right?
There was good attempts, but you didn't really break through for me. Needs more effort. I write in red pen on your homework.
Like, I don't know.
How do you rate someone for that? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. Um, I just don't understand the concept, really. Like I do in general understand the concept, like the you raise together players, and I think maybe the GM as well. Um, but like, why?
It's yeah.
Who's into that? I mean,
I don't
obviously
really
there are
know what to
people,
say.
you know.
I don't know because,
Yeah.
like, I mean, is but there are some people. I mean, you and I could probably both agree that there are some people that are better at certain aspects of a role playing game than other people, but they will have other strengths in other areas. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the thing that I was saying earlier
But
in our little chat was that like Chex is one of my favorite people to role play with, right?
yeah,
Chex Chekhov. I think he adds so much to a game. But sometimes you play with Chex in the campaign and he might say 10 words in a 4 hour game, right?
yeah,
Sometimes he will do, I mean, that's an exaggeration, but he doesn't speak a lot. Not the way that I would. I'm like, blah, 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 every chance I get. Blah, blah, blah. And I think that if I'm playing with a bunch of strangers,
yeah.
that this kind of play where you're like, hey, here's an idea and here's a role play thing, blah, 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 that is much more likely to win you something than like the quiet but helpful sort of play that other people might have, you know? So it kind of, to me, seems that if you want to win at it, you need to be kind of domineering, which like I am. That's like a self-admitting, like I do that. But I think that if you want to win and want people to like look at you and be like, that's a 10, you need to be like throwing out offers all over the place and like, you know,
Yeah.
and like just like doing stuff all the time. And like the thing that like bothers me is like some people think that things are good, which I think are awful. Like accents. I think they're dumb. Like no, I don't I don't think
No, they
all
are.
accents are
No,
dumb,
I agree.
but I think that like when someone comes in and he's like, I'm a dwarf, like I just can't handle it. I hate it. And,
I mean,
you know, and like when I see
me,
that,
to me, it's just promoting. Yeah, you're right. I think it is promoting like a look at me kind of angle because there are a lot of players that do that, and it's not necessarily a good thing. I don't know. I find it hilarious. I will watch with like genuine interest. Like I think, like if that's done anything for me, it's confirmed that I want to watch it to see how someone can sort of police this idea because I it's just weird to me. It's really weird and a little bit.
yeah.
I think a negative thing. Like I don't.
Like I guess the idea is to like entertain people who are watching, right? So like then are you playing for the game? Are you playing for the other players? Like I don't know. It's confusing to me. Like if you're playing to entertain all the other people there, right?
Yeah.
Like, I guess you're doing that anyway sometimes. But if you're like, oh, I'm playing and there's a stake and I better be at my most entertaining, what does that mean? You know, and
Yeah,
what is that
it's
like?
so
That's
weird.
at my table. That means being the most immersed and like contributing the most story stuff, I guess, right? But it doesn't even mean that all the time because sometimes I want you to just shut up and fight the fight, you know? But at other tables, that means doing the fucking best gnome impression where you're like, fiddly dee, I'm gonna steal the fucking fork or whatever. Like, some people think that's great, you know? Some people love that.
They do.
Some people think it's really funny to like piss on a gnome or something.
Piss
Like,
on a gnome.
you know, like, oh, I'm gonna funny prank where I like pickpocket this guy. Like, that's people like that, you know.
Yeah,
I hate
I know what
it,
you mean.
but
I
some
know
people
what you
might see
mean.
that and be like, oh, that's a 10. That's great. That was so funny. I cracked up when he did that fucking orc impression, or when he like flirted with that. You know, just fucking. It's way too broad a thing for you to say anything about how good it is or not. Like, I do it
Yeah.
all the time, forever saying I'm. No, I don't say I'm good, but I know what I think is good, right? I know what I like, but I'm really open about the fact that that's incorrect and like that's my opinion. I wouldn't ever give anyone an award for playing the game the way I want them to play it. You know?
That's it. There you go. You actually just nailed it right there. I would never give an award to anyone for playing the game the way I want the game to be played. I think
Right.
that's spot on. That's that.
I need to take a breather.
Oh my god! Like no, it was like a tidal wave, man. I mean, I'm totally with you, man. I don't have anything further to add because I think it's just insane and a little bit stupid. So anyway, hello everyone. Welcome to the stream.
Yeah.
Sorry we were late. It was my fault. The apocalypse in my kitchen happened and I spilt an entire bag of sugar. An entire bag. I was just racked with remorse and then annoyance because it's just annoying. What else were we going to talk about, Lloyd? We were going to talk about
remorse. I love it. You were just shaking on the kitchen floor, rocking back and forth.
Well, you know, I need my sugar levels, man. And once that's
cruel fate.
I don't wish to mislead anyone. I am not diabetic. Continuing.
Okay, so we've talked about competitive RPGs, and I feel like we've given that a good
hiding. A good hiding. Oh my god.
Next was dice fudging, which is suggested by the wonderful, the most ironclad of all tyrants, Ian Christensen from Fantastic Dimensions. What do we think about dice fudging, Rob? What do you think about it?
I think, generally speaking, I don't think you should do it. That's my stance. I don't think you should do it. I don't think you should. If you're going to have a situation that you want to resolve randomly, then you should let it happen randomly. If you're not prepared to put your game on a die roll, then you shouldn't be using the die. You shouldn't be using that mechanic. Because that isn't for you. You know, why roll the die if you're just going to make up what it says? And I think the same goes for players as well. I was watching a game and there was an absolutely blatant dice fudger that was one of the characters. And I could smell it. And I know that probably sounds insane and a little bit kind of like sociopathic, but I could smell it.
You can smell it. Yeah.
I could just sense, and maybe it's because I'm like experienced in the game and I kind of get a feeling for it. I'm not saying.
Here's how you know, right?
But
here's how you know.
Yeah.
It's a 20, right? That's it, because there's like there's like a 10-second gap between like Because if it's not, it's like, oh, that's an 8. You know, like that's how you know. The second the dice will stop rolling, you see the number and you know. But when it's like a 20, oh, okay, yeah, yep.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Rob and Lloyd's latest show where we say fudge or no fudge. Lloyd, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, here we go. 12.
I think that was a lie.
It was a 12.
Well, it just shows you how good I am at judging things.
Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back same time next week for more Fudge or No Fudge.
We need a catchy jingle for there.
We do. We need it like Saturday
Is it
evening.
fudge? Is it fudge? Or is it not?
Or is it not?
I'm with you on the fudging. I think it's a waste of time. Why roll the dice at all?
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. Like, that seems to be the most cogent and powerful argument that I can think of. If you're going to change the result, why roll the dice at all?
Do you know the best way to tell? And this is another way to tell. This is a tip, okay, for DMs. If you want to know if your players are fudging their die, this is another thing. If they instantly go salty and a bit annoyed because their character is losing too much health or isn't able to land an attack, or you can tell that they're generally pissed off, and you're a human being. We're all empathic on a certain level. You will be able to tell when a player is annoyed that something didn't happen for them in the game that they wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted it to go a certain way. So you will sense that they get salty, and then all of a sudden you'll notice that their rolls steadily get better or instantly get better. And, you know, that's a good way of pointing it out. I don't think there's any room for fudging die really on either end.
No, I mean, I think that's I used to, when I first started GMing, do it because I used to run a home game for a pack of idiots who like had no concept of what, like, that's not actually true. The first game of D&D that I ever ran was actually it was more like a board game than D&D. It was very tactical. We played 4th edition. It was really just like very tactical combat stuff.
That was 4th edition, yeah.
Yeah, and it was great. But then my home game kind of became this like rambling 10-person game where it was just kind of madness all over the place. And sometimes people would just make terrible decisions with no information because they weren't listening. And then, you know, they would just get real salty if the character died, and I'd be like, "Oh, you somehow made it." You know, but I've stopped doing that, and it was never really like that online.
No.
But I'm a home game I used to do it. But I don't know, more and more. I
can see.
I like to play like a simulation style game where there's realism and consistency in the world. And so if you're doing that, then you're on the dice. Then the dice is the dice. You know.
Yeah, I can see why people would do it though. Like, one, because they want to win if they're a player, I guess. Though winning, is that a thing in this game? That's a whole story. Unless it's the DM and they kind of want to be a bit merciful, if they want to like pull the punches a little bit, if they don't feel they want to let people get, it's generally to stop people from getting more hurt than they would usually be from the DM's point, unless. Or the opposite, they want their villain to land the attack. You know what I mean? They want beat the shit out of them.
Well, yeah, that's a DM. You can have that feeling where like you've got this big encounter plan and you can't roll a fucking dice to save your life, and your big baddie just farts and then dies. You know, and you're like, oh, that was let down.
Me so many times.
Yeah, so many times.
I've had so many times where like setting up an encounter. Here's one: Marshall missed. Okay, you
pissed all over him.
Battered him, and I was like, oh, okay, he's dead. You know, like I was like,
we just pissed on him.
Boss, like in the Nightmare Shrine, a terrifying place, and then you just shit on him.
Yeah.
The Gold Guards show up. I've been holding the Gold Guard back for ages, thinking, oh, this will be a cool reveal. There'll be the Golden Guard. They didn't do anything.
No.
They fell on their asses, and one of them got battered to death, and the others came out of the combat. Yeah.
It happens. I've had it happen lots of times in Iscloft where like I'm like, this is a rad lord, and I go through like this is a rad lord. He's really rad. He does a really cool thing, and then he just fucking gets shanked in the side and bleeds to death in like 3 turns, and I'm like, okay, cool, yep.
Your big bad just got pulled into a bonfire.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I actually have no problem with unexpected like things like that. I really like that, and I always like it when like there was another game that I ran a couple of years ago, a Westeros game, where like it was set, I don't know, 100 years after the last dragon had died. No, the year the last dragon died, and Ironborn were like invading or whatever, and like they basically talked the Ironborn leader, the Lord, into accepting a duel.
Yeah.
And then killed him. And I was like, cool. That's the end of that. And like,
That's perfect for Westeros, though.
it's perfect, and it was great, and like it really felt, and I like it when that happens. And I always, and Nico also calls it getting dentist, when like when a mechanically minded player just pisses all over your boss, you know.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, and it's really good as a GM, I think, to just like roll with that and be like, okay, yep, I walked into that one, that's fine, it can happen.
Yeah,
That's what the
and
dice
players
do,
should
you
be
know.
rewarded for
Yeah,
good thinking. Like it is at its heart still a game. You should have like a tactical mind on if you want to.
for sure.
Not every character is going to be tactically minded. Some of them are just going to be warriors of passion, people that are fighting for a cause and aren't a general. But
Yep.
some players want to play it by the book, and that's really cool, I think. And yeah, this is why I made a post. I made a post on AbTab, Absolute Tabletop, on Facebook, for those of you who don't know, saying, tell me about your dangerous players. You know, who's the player that you actually get worried about because you're think that, oh, they're going to guess the answer to this quandary. They're going to beat this villain's plan because they'll outsmart him or outtalk him. You know, like there are some players out there that you've got to be wary of because they're pretty savvy, and I think that's a good thing. I think, for the most part, do we fall back into competitive role playing if there's like a super like a genius that plays Dungeons and Dragons and just knows everything about it?
Yeah, I don't know. You should reward people for being crafty, you know,
Yeah,
and like, and also like take a smack in the mouth if you get outclassed by your players. Just be like, all right, you got me, you know, that's fine.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Right. We let's try and structure this a bit more.
Jesus, it's falling apart already. Like,
oh my god, it's been funny, though, man.
Yeah.
It's been a good time.
Okay, let's see. So that was the big two, right? We got fudging, we got competitive. What you call them?
Yeah, that's right. So we'll go to questions in the thing then, right?
Let's do it.
Oh no, wait, we have done that. What do you think of dice fudging? Okay, Andrew Beaton says, have certain market areas reached a saturation point with too many systems covering the same genre? No.
I don't know. Probably not.
I don't think so. I don't. I mean, more. I think surely more systems means more diversity, so more people can play the game that they like to play, and then we won't be complaining about people playing games wrong.
Yeah, true.
I don't think anyone should be said that they're playing the game wrong, but like if there's more systems that will suit someone better, then all power to them.
Yeah, I just think more choice is good. It's good for the consumer, you know, just to have more choice and to buy more things if you want to, and buy more specific things, you know.
Yeah,
like if there was a system out there that was Iscloft, I would just buy it, you know, and I wouldn't have to make it. It'd be nice if there was just like a gritty Viking one, or like, you know, for yourself, or a setting that you like or whatever. If there was just one out there that I could just use, I'd be delighted. Wouldn't have to do all this work, you know. So like, I think more the merrier. More is good for the consumer. I think it might be bad for the seller, because I think RPGs. I mean, it's a small industry. I think compared to many, like compared to video games or something like that, you know, or board games even. But yeah, it's harder for the seller because they're particularly, I think, trying to sell fantasy, selling generic fantasy with elves and dwarves and yada yada yada. I think that's a hard sell, because why would you not just play Dungeons and Dragons? It's the biggest and the best in many people's opinions. And if you want to play often with lots of people, then that's the one you use. So it's hard to break into that market, I think, you know.
And also, I think because of the if there aren't more games that are being made, then people will just sink into a rut and just stay in like one thing. But at the same time, that's absolutely fine. I have played just Dungeons and Dragons for years and been perfectly happy. Perfectly happy. The system to me is one that I enjoy, and it's one that I know well, so I can use to my own advantages in terms of how I enjoy playing the game. And you know, but if that wasn't the case, but I still wanted an influence of some kind of fantasy in it, then there will always be another system that you can use. You go, buddy, you want a bit more emphasis on the sword combat, then I hear Zweihander is pretty good, right? A bit more brutal as well. Like, there you go, you sort of go in that direction. Like, yeah, that more opportunity is nothing but a good thing. So,
yep.
And we live in a golden time where like you can basically get anything you want in this
Yeah.
world
It's
if
never
you have.
been, yeah, never been easier to get into role playing games. You've never had a better selection ever, you know.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, a
Yeah.
golden age, which surely will continue for 1,000 years.
Like go back 20 years and ask someone and say, do you wish there were more role-playing games? They would bite your face off in anticipation. Like they
Yep.
would want more role-playing games. They'd be like, yes. So let's not put a damp on it now. Who? Oh, you read a question.
Ooh, okay, Taylor has 15 questions in one.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a cheat code. That's a cheat code. That's like when, I don't know if you ever do this, but we do this thing called the Spotify game where if you're sitting around, pissing around, whatever, you play a game where everyone cues a song and you keep queuing songs basically in a circle and you build a playlist, you know? And that's like playing that game and then queuing a song that's 18 minutes long, you know? Like it's just not really fair.
Oh god, yes, I know the treachery of such an action.
Okay, do dungeon crawls or cartography expeditions need overarching goals to drive the story?
Surely the overarching goal in a cartography expedition rather is to make a map.
It's to cartograph?
Yeah. So
is that can you cartograph?
Cartograph? Yeah, sounds right to me, mate. So why not?
Okay, let's go with it. Yeah, in dungeon crawl, the goal is to get to the end of the dungeon, right? I don't think for a one shot you need anything more than that.
Yeah, like I mean, you don't necessarily have to have a goal for like just a one. I mean, it doesn't say one shots. Well, for one shots, you definitely need some goal. I think like if you just aimlessly wander around for one session and then stop, then I don't really see the point of that. But if it was like I guess it was a campaign, then definitely have some overarching goals. I mean, you want to achieve something after it, right? I mean. Or do you just want to wait and see what happens and just completely improvise it?
I mean, lots of the old modules are just like, there's a dungeon, go in and see what's in there.
Yeah.
It's treasure and monsters, right? Like that's
treasure,
like
monsters, fights, yes.
Yep. So I don't know. I don't think you need to. It depends on the kind of game you want to run, I guess.
Yep.
Okay, if
all of Taylor's questions.
You were going to go through them real quick. If the DM suspects a player is fudging dice, should the DM fudge back? Should players ever fudge rolls? Should DMs? We just talked about this, so we're going to skip over it. I think if you know somebody's fudging, talk to them after the game.
Call them out.
I think not in the game because it's awkward for everybody involved.
Not in the game, no.
Yeah, but afterwards.
But that means they get away with it, though, Lloyd.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we should start a shit list in AbTab. Just like a list of people who've done bad things.
I know, Lloyd, lists of people's names that in has gone down pretty badly.
Yeah, you'd never guess I grew up in Germany, huh?
God, we are the bad guys. Okay.
Why is it a bad idea to make RPGs competitive in the RP category? We talked about that already as well.
Yeah, sorry.
As a DM, how much control do you exert on what kinds of characters are allowable at the table? Does it vary from one game to another? I have a lot to say about this, but I'll let you go first.
I kind of do as well. Mine isn't so bad though, because with my if it's Nine Kingdoms, if it's my homebrew setting, then there are still lots of different races that essentially are versions of what are already there. You know, there are certain types of elves, there's drow, there's moon elves, and there's high elves. You know, you still have those three to pick from, you know. I mean, I was a bit firm that, like, okay, we're going to have a Dragonborn, but you know what? This is probably going to be the last Dragonborn that's ever existed, so you might as well. And that was a thing, so that's why I let it happen. And then there's humans, which are like the predominant part of my world, you know, dwarves and shit. So it isn't such a big deal for me. I do draw the line if people are like, I want to be like an Azamar, or like, I get a bit itchy if people want to be tieflings as well, and that's just me. That's just my opinion. Like, I just think they're a little bit too. They should be left to be special. Like, encountering that kind of creature in an earlier edition of D&D was a magical, special moment. So when anyone can start as one of them out of the factory, it's just a bit like, that's a bit shit. It's not very special. Yeah. That's my opinion on it. Now, I know yours is much stricter in Escloft.
Yep, I just think that as the GM, you exert absolute authority over your game, and you can decide what people can do and what they can't. And if they complain, then they can fuck off and play a different game. You know, like, here's the game that I want to spend 4 hours running, and if you want to play under these conditions, then you can play. If you don't want to, then don't play. Like, it's that simple. Like, don't ask me if I've specified already, like, you can play a human Viking, can I play an elf wizard? Like, no, you can't. No, there's no amount of you fucking talking to me is going to convince me. I had a guy try to talk to me about fucking Azamars once for such a long time, messaging me about it, and I was like, no, you can be a fucking farmer with missing teeth. That's what you can be. You know, like, shut up. My game. I decide what you can do. I just think you have absolute control over your game, and don't let anyone fucking bully you into like playing what they want to play. If they want to do that, they can do that in somebody else's game. You decide.
It is funny when people kind of just hit you with a character concept in like interest posts or whatever, and they're like half like, what did I have once? I swear to God, I swear somewhere, I'll try and find it. Someone posted they want to be like half awakened construct, half like fucking. It was probably tiefling actually. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, pardon. I was like, what do you mean? Have you even like why?
No, get out of here. Not happening.
I'd love to see a game where there were all types of those of who's the biggest snowflake. Like we'll make a setting like called Snowflake, and within it, like the whole point of the setting is to be the best, and then we'll put it into competitive leagues.
Maybe that's what we
should
do. And encourage in a smug tone the GM to fudge dice in the rulebook.
Oh my goodness me.
Tick every possible box. Right. What's a good tool for wrapping up a game that's going along? How do you abbreviate a session on the fly? Do you let it play out?
Hit them with a worrying piece of information that wasn't entirely clear to them before, and then say, and that's where we'll leave it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't have to worry about that for the next session, but that's a challenge as well. No, I mean, in all seriously, plan your cliffhangers, people. But or at least have a think about them. Like they might not come to fruition. Oh, a cliffhanger of mine last session of Lawkeepers is basically kind of been, after some thought, has been kind of devalued slightly, which I'll maybe talk about later. But I find it absolutely hilarious because I'll just tell you now. So like at the end of the last session of the Lawkeepers, they'd successfully managed to trick a dragon and initiate its followers into their forces, which was they actually sort of learnt the rules of what the dragon was doing and tricked him, and it was really fantastic. And I was so hyped that had happened. There we go. Good points for players outsmarting the GM. But then at the end, I did this thing where I was like, yeah, and then this emissary of Advent comes up to the dragon, and then like the dragon goes, "What are your terms?" and starts doing the same thing again, but with Advent. Like, oh my god, like what are they doing? But then we talked about it. We're like, yeah, but the door to connecting to this dimension is now going to be sealed. So the three Advent people are just going to be stuck in there for all time now, and that cliffhanger means nothing.
Yeah.
What are they going to do?
What are they going to do?
What are they going to do?
Stand in that room for eternity.
Exactly. So I was like, oh shit. So I can't wait to tell the story one day of what happened to those three people. But there we go. Sorry, just a little chat about cliffhangers. I don't know, if it's running too long, then just say, I mean, ask yourself, why is it running too long? Like, have you set like a time limit on how long you want the session to run? Like, do you have busy schedules? Because if you do, then I don't think there's any harm in saying, look, let's leave it at this point. Just find like a sensible stopping point. But if you
with a campaign, it's easier, I guess. If you're running a campaign, you can pick it up again. With a one shot, it's trickier. But I've done it more than once where like a one shot's gone long and the ending of the one shot is pretty clear. And I'll just be like, listen, just narrate yourselves dying. You know,
sometimes it can get absolutely narrate yourselves dying or narrate yourselves beating the you've basically beaten them. Just tell me how you finish them off. But the other thing that some people I think shy away from, and I think probably justly, is stopping a session mid-combat. Do you know what I mean? Like, because that's where things can get messy. I think you'll start back up and you're like, oh, I don't remember how many times an action surged, or
hit points and things like
that. Housekeeping, stuff like that. Yeah, so people tend to not leave it in the middle of a combat. But maybe you should. Maybe you should prove us wrong. Like, stop a session halfway through a combat.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I probably would avoid it whenever possible.
I mean, you could do it like in a dramatic way, like say like a new people arrive. Oh my god! Like you just realize that like the enemy has reinforcements and they're coming over the hill. Then you stop the session. That's a good thing because then you're re-rolling initiative or whatever. And
Right.
um, but yeah, just talk to people, I guess.
Just kill him.
Just kill them. Yeah,
Kill him.
that's a very very valid response. Oh my god. We have so
Okay.
many questions.
Why is Dice Fudging talked about so recently or so frequently recently? Yep, I don't know why, but we talked about it.
Yep.
What's the worst thing you can do as a DM or player but not realize it? Besides ignoring the wants of the participants entirely, what's the biggest thing that kills the game for you?
I don't want to be salty because we've been really salty about a few things this
Oh,
week.
it's been. We should rename the Dice Cast to the Salt Merchant.
Salt's cast. Or just the salt mine.
Yeah.
Why? What's the worst thing you can do as a DM or player?
Fudge dice. Make it a competition.
Make it a much nicer game competition. And encourage bad behavior in your players, and encourage one-upmanship, and encourage selfishness.
Yeah.
That's for both DM and player. That I'd say is what would be the worst thing you could do. Other than drawing a pistol at the table, right. Something crazy, but like in the game, that's probably it.
There's lots of I mean, there's a huge list, I guess, of things that you probably shouldn't do and things that you shouldn't encourage and stuff like that. I guess like I don't know, everyone get along, like be polite, like don't
just be nice.
Like basics of like, I mean, if you're going into like more detailed stuff, like basics of improv, like don't block people's ideas and stuff like that. If you can manage it.
Self-aware. That's the other thing.
Yeah,
that's just a tip. Just be aware of what you're doing.
Yep.
But that's not like me being nasty. I'm just saying it generally. It's a good life skill to have, I think.
Okay.
Joseph says he loves the Beastmaster pick. Yeah.
Good man, Joseph.
It was great. Not a heavyweight question from Oral, but let's see. What animal companion would you choose from the following list, Lloyd? Bear, wolf, wolverine, elk, raven, boar, owl, or lynx?
Oh, it's a tough one. I'll probably have to go with raven because then I would have a little raven pal and I could pretend I could pluck out an eye and I could be Odin.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty good.
You could be Odin, or you could just buy sheep's eyes from the butchers and do the same thing. You wouldn't have to pluck someone else's eye out, right?
No, but it has to be my eye. I have to take it out and then have to,
have to be your eye, doesn't it?
You should sacrifice it for the knowledge.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to
also
have
need a
that
second raven, so if I can have two ravens for the price of one wolf, then
Yeah, but if we're going by price, then what about the bear? Surely the bear's bigger than all of them. So
yeah, but is size the only value an animal has?
Also, what kind of bear? What kind of bear are we talking about, man? There are lots of different types of bears.
What if it's a red panda? It's barely a bear at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Or koala, useless.
But then at the same time, do you really want to wake up in a room where there's a grizzly bear? Like, you wake up the next morning and your animal companion comes back and it's just there, and a grizzly bear takes up the size of your kitchen or something. Like, it'd just be really inconvenient. Imagine trying to drive anywhere.
Oh god, yeah, it'd be a nightmare.
Oh, we got to get the bear in.
So I'll take this car with the bear, and God, yeah, you could never get on a bus or a tram,
Now you could ride the bear, but bears can get up to like 30 miles per hour, which is impressive, but it's not a sustainable speed.
No, he'd be knackered.
They're more sprinters than. Well, I don't know actually. I guess bears probably have quite a lot of stamina as well.
Very dangerous over short distances, much like dwarves.
Fucking but they're so terrifying.
I think I'd go with the raven. I think that would be like the most convenient animal companion, and also like really fucking rad to have a little raven who was like, wah! And he could like say things and like freak your pals out big time,
Yeah, because you definitely have the raven on your shoulder whenever you're doing anything.
Yep.
You'd be like a king.
Yeah.
A king of the creatures, I guess.
and you could like sit and like look at someone for a long time and about to be giving a judgment, and the raven would say death, and you'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, yes, very good, death it is. You know, that'd be quite good.
Your friends would be like, "This is really intense."
It's
ever,
so
ever,
intense.
ever since Lloyd's got that raven, he's never been the same.
Yeah, become a real tyrant since then.
Really, really, really weird dude now. Okay, Toadle's talking about competitive RPGs. Jeff Doherty says, "How important do you think it is to try new styles and methods of play? Do you stick with a known winning formula, or is it important to experiment and try new things and retry things that haven't worked for you in the past?" Do you think it's important to try new styles, Lloyd?
Yes. I'll say this quickly. I have played RPGs for like 4 years, and in the first 3 of those years, I basically played a shit ton of systems, a shit tons of ways, tried lots of different things, and in the last maybe year or so, I've settled upon what I like and have kind of stuck with it.
Yeah.
If you're new, you should try real crunchy games, try real light games, try everything in the middle, try different genres, sci-fi and fantasy and modern, all sorts of different shit. And whatever, like basically throw as much shit at the wall as you can and then see what sticks.
I completely agree. I've been playing for a long time, and I've enjoyed lots of different games. Like some of my favorite games that I've ever been in have been crunch fests, 3.5 slug fests through legions of enemies, and I've absolutely adored it. But at the same time, I absolutely adore the style that I'm predominantly using right now online, which is, narrative heavy kind of games, with an emphasis on that. Yeah, definitely try everything. And even if you don't like something, it's always important to experience it, because then you'll know for yourself, and you'll learn from it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And it's good to like think about why you don't like it's easy to be like, I don't like this, but like think about why and like process like a criticism rather than be like, that was lame. Be like, why was that lame? Why didn't I enjoy it? Like, what are the things? And then avoid those, I guess. You know.
defo.
I am.
To be sure.
Okay. So
Let's
then
see.
that's it. We got I've answered the other two. I
Oh,
posted the thing. Yeah.
amazing. What about Nicholas's? Oh no! That is part of the other thing. Never mind. Okay. Well, let's go to the YouTube chat quickly then.
Oh, it's big. Oh goodness.
Oh my goodness! If you have questions, please put question in front of the question, so we'll be able to ascertain whether your comment is a question or an incessant rambling.
An incessant rambling.
This has been an interesting one today, Lloyd.
The vape has fixed itself, Rob, and I'm living the dream.
How is it?
It's great.
Did you cough quite a lot when you first used it?
Yes, and I still do. I haven't now. Something must have changed during this. Maybe it's your presence emboldens me.
Emboldens.
Embiggens me. But
it's surprising how different it is from taking something from this and dragging on a cigarette. Like, it's so different.
So I was looking it up, and seemingly like cigarettes, because I don't roll. I smoke actual cigarettes opposed to rollies. Like cigarettes have a bunch of chemicals in them. I don't know what they're called, but like just make the smoke smoother so that you don't cough.
Yeah.
You know, have these agents in them to make you not cough. And so I guess your throat gets used to that. And then I was like, it was like, it's so dry or something. And it doesn't make any sense. It's water. So I don't know why. But yeah. A little detour into Lloyd's switching to vape experience.
Yeah, no, it's good though. There's so much.
Yeah, it's a busy one
today.
So
many people watching. Oh my god. I say so many people. There's lots of people commenting. That's what I can tell. Okay, question. I've gone right to the bottom because I've just seen. Question. Oh, when are we gaming together, Rob? I don't know, mate. We'll do it. We'll do. What do you want to play? Tell me what you want to play, and we'll play it.
You need to play in an Ian game. He needs to run you some horror. The man is.
I mean, I really do mean to. I don't say that lightly.
Oh boy, the best.
Let's do it. Let's think of something to play, and we'll play it. And yeah, totally run something for me, man. That'd be amazing. I do want to play more. Like, I do actually want to, because I'm running Lawn Keepers. I'm running Vampire, and I'm going to be running Star Wars. But then again, I am playing Saga and Against the Shadow back in February.
Yeah.
So Okay, I just miss playing.
Yeah.
That being
um,
said, all I do when running Vampire is laugh. I laugh constantly during that game. That's one thing I will say.
what's happened? Oh, you lagged there for a second
Oh,
there, Rob.
am I here?
Yep, you are.
Oh,
It's
sorry,
all good
man.
now.
I was just saying, but when it comes to Vampire, all I do is laugh. I laugh my way from beginning to end in those games. I'm just trying to please pick a
I'm just looking
question.
through here and I can just see Nico saying a koala is not a fucking bear.
We need questions. I'm trying to read through all the comments, and there's just
Okay. What kind of horror do you like, Rob? Ian asks. I'll look through.
what?
You answer
Oh,
that.
what kind of horror? What kind of horror do I like? To be honest, mate, I really love suspense building horror. Like, if my favorite kinds of movies are the ones that slowly amp up and up and up in terms of the tension. If you like The Shining, for instance, there's like the movie. I mean, like there's a huge build-up of tension before anything frightening happens in The Shining, and even when things start to get unsettling, like it still doesn't break that tension. So I really like that kind of horror, to be honest, because it gets you invested to the point that when horrible stuff really starts happening, then it has an even bigger impact, I find. And yeah. I don't
Right. We don't have
honestly.
too many questions. Uh, I don't know. My brain's falling out now.
Yeah, mine too.
I don't know. Anything else we need to discuss before we? Geez, that was a snappy one. We really smashed it, I think, today.
It was. What? How long are we? How long have we been going? My brain has
Just
just
about
collapsed,
an,
mate.
just about an hour.
Oh, there you go. Um, Look, I mean, if anyone has any other questions, whack them in the comments of this video, and we'll answer them there. How about that?
Okay, here we go. Sam says, if the GM prevents a character from hitting 0 hit points, do you think that is cheating the other players out of the opportunity to save them?
Say that again, mate.
If the GM prevents a character from hitting 0 hit points, do you
Yeah.
think that is cheating the other players out of the opportunity to save them?
Yeah.
Why? Yeah, I mean, why are you preventing the character from hitting 0 hit points? Is the question that I would have. You shouldn't. It should just
I
happen.
mean,
If it's happening, it's happening.
the only case that I can imagine that ever happening is if an enemy NPC wanted to take someone alive, maybe. But
Sure.
even then, like, you can't. Not everything goes to plan for the villain either. They might accidentally kill someone they're trying to take alive. Maybe, I don't know. I don't. I honestly don't see what the point in that would be. It goes back to why would you roll? Why roll the die?
Right.
If you don't want to do it, why roll a die? Just decide.
What's the longest session you'll play?
I have played continuously for like 12-hour stretches, slept, and then done the same thing again and then again over a long summers between university where I was an unemployed bum and did nothing but play D&D with my friends. I had a student
Yeah.
loan, so it was fine. You know, it's
I
not like I was costing anyone else, but yeah.
I think the longest online game I've played was like 6.5 hours, and it was a Nico game. Like I'll do that again. I'd play a Westeros game that Nico runs just indefinitely until we pass out. I'd play Vampire or Lord Keepers until we passed out, like, you know. But it's like often not possible in terms of scheduling and stuff like that.
That's
If
the
it
way,
was
yeah.
if it was like in a vacuum, we just had like infinite time. I would just piss around playing RPGs forever.
forever.
Yeah,
We
just
literally would. Oh my
yep.
goodness. We actually would. We'd die of dysentery before we'd stop playing.
The true danger of like going to visit you or you coming to visit me is that we wouldn't leave the house. We just sit around playing games all the time. We wouldn't go anywhere.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna read some comments. We've got some quite insightful people in here today. We've got Juices watching. Hey man, how's it going? Says, yeah, I agree. Don't leave something to a die roll of the players if the players have to succeed. Yeah. Well, don't make them roll the die if they're gonna succeed anyway, yeah. Um, uh, Someone's saying I don't get how this is a controversial subject. I don't think it is a controversial subject. That's what I was initially confused by it. I was like, why would you? Yeah, why would you do it? Just a bit strange, isn't it? Unless you want to show mercy to your players, which I guess is fine.
Which is weakness.
Roll. Well, don't roll if you're going to do it. Yeah.
We have some more questions at the
Basically,
end
it's
here.
them saving their feelings, essentially, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, but I don't know if the players are delicate enough that like you hurting their imaginary character. Like I get it. Like you can be very invested in the game, and I would be pretty upset if some of the characters I had died.
Right.
But also like I like that's what keeps the game alive for me is that there is a risk of like losing. You know.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know.
Well, that's what makes it dramatic and fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
That like you could fail, you could lose, you could die.
If there's no chance of you losing, like you can lose little things. Like let's say in the Westeros game that Nico runs, we might like lose some influence, or we might lose some money or whatever, right?
And that's kingdom, yeah.
Right, that's a pain in the arse. We might lose our lord. I might lose my lordship, right? That's fucking terrible. Yeah. But I'm still playing the game, right? As that character. If that character dies, that's gone, and I'm done. And like, that's really scary. That's like way scarier to me than like losing something else, like losing an item or losing, because there was a thread about this some time ago about like character death and why, like, it's not important. Players can lose other things in the game. It's not the same. It's not the same at all to losing the character. I don't think,
Yeah.
Because you can come back from any sort of loss. The character can, except for dying.
That's true. So Dasha says, I struggle to put the finishing blow on my PCs. I'm fine to knock them into death saves, but when it comes to hitting a guy that is down, I feel dirty. How do you do it without feeling like a dick? Well, the thing is, the person invariably making the killing strike is a character that isn't representative of your feelings as a person. And if you want to be true to a villainous individual that wants to kill people, then they will kill them whilst they're on the floor.
That's absolutely it. Yep. Like, it's not you. You're not the person doing the killing.
Like, I'm sure you've played like a video game where you've like, you get like an option to either save someone or like betray them and kill them maybe. And then you decide to betray them and kill them and you feel a little bit bad that you did it, maybe because you're invested in the game. Well, that means that you're enjoying your time and you're invested in the moment. And then you make a dramatic decision, which is not reflective on you as a human being at all. That's just the way it is. And that shows that you're in there, man. So don't worry about that feeling, but just know that, it's not you.
Yep. And the players should know that too. Like, I mean, what was it, 15, 16 sessions in when Syrian died in Against the Shadow. Like,
coup de grace on the floor.
On the floor, and the Witch King stabbed him in the heart. Like, it's not you, I'm not the Witch King. I wouldn't kill Syrian, I wouldn't do it. But the Witch King definitely would. It depends on the villain too. Like, if you're playing a strategically tactical villain, then they will do whatever the most effective thing is. And if that is making sure that that person doesn't get up again, that's what they do, right? No question.
These guys threaten. Well, we didn't really threaten him that much, but like,
no,
we're at least a force that like opposes him. Why would he let that slide? Why would he? I'm gonna let you live? No, no. And it isn't representative of you being nasty at all.
And if you really don't want to kill, then maim. Like, make it memorable. Like, there's nothing more like pointless than like having a fight with a boss. He brings the baddies or the goodies to 0 hit points, and then he runs away because he wants to get away or whatever. Nothing has changed in the stakes. Nothing has changed. In that situation, then he needs to like fucking maim someone, cut off a hand, Darth Vader style, like something that they remember and they've lost something from the encounter, Like, villains can toy with players, but they don't need to drop them to 0 hit points mechanically and then like run away. It doesn't make any sense.
That's right. Here we are. Jeff Doty said something that's quite interesting. Something that kills the game for me unintentionally. Too pushy too pushy of a pace, never leaving space for people to interact or explore, moving to the next thing relentlessly, no matter what. Yeah, I agree. I've actually been guilty of that. I mean, for example, when I knew I had to take Barker out of Lawkeepers, I had to kill him, and I had to kill him before the end of the session somehow. I didn't know how I was going to do it. So there have been times where like in those circumstances where I have done that. So I can't say like, oh, I never do that because I have. I think if you don't have a good enough reason to do that, then that's when it sucks, and there's no reason at all why you're not letting people explore or talk to people. What do you think, Lloyd?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it?
It is.
If you have a specific task to achieve, then you got to achieve the task.
Yeah.
Um, I would say that I'm a pushy player.
As in pushing the momentum forward of the
I think
objectives?
so. I think so, but I
Even if you
think I
don't
do it.
want to do the objective?
Hmm.
This is the thing. This is what I mean. Because
Yeah.
sometimes players will be like, oh, I don't know if I want to go into that mine.
Right.
Like, but you're like, I've only got a certain amount of time
Hmm.
to run this game for you. And admittedly, it's cool that your character is having hesitations
Yeah.
because that would make
There.
sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you need to get some game in. You know, I believe you as a GM, at the end of the day, you're an entertainer.
Yeah.
You're there to put some fun on for your friends, essentially. Like you're the one in charge of it, so you owe them something. And I think that's key. I think that's an important thing to
I think
consider.
there's part of the social contract, isn't it? Like you come to the game to play the game, and part of the agreement is that you will do certain things and have the game happen. You know, and if like you get to a cave and you're like, I don't really want to go in there, or my character doesn't want to go in there. Okay, but you as a player know you have to, you know, to continue the story. So you got to do it. You got to figure out a way for your player to do it, for your character to do it. I've done it with
And if you,
Marius a
yeah,
few times. Like Marius wouldn't want to do certain things, but I know that like it's a game and we have to play the game, and then I have to figure out a way for Marius to do the thing. You know, it's just like part of the contract, the social contract that you engage in.
or finding reasons why it would happen. Like I'm not saying, for instance, like take away a player's agency, but like at the same time, as a player, you are aware that you're also playing a game and you want to roll some dice. So yeah, sometimes things happen when you're like, well, maybe they wouldn't have done that, but isn't it? When the game's on a timer, I think that becomes more when you've got a certain amount to achieve in that time. Yeah, it's difficult.
Hmm.
Um, let's see.
What is your personal GM nightmare? As in, you're the GM of a nightmare session. What makes it a nightmare?
Oh, one thing I really hate, and this is a simple thing, is just technical issues. Like
Hmm.
for me, that really annoys me because it's something I've never had to deal with as playing in person. You know, so I've never experienced the feeling before coming online. The feeling of game abruptly stopping, one can hear you or see you, or around the table just vanishes. You know,
Right.
that's like an element to
Yep.
the game that maybe not a nightmare, but it's still a real frustration. A real frustration.
Hmm.
For the most part, it's only a small thing though. So that's one thing. I don't know. What do you think, Lloyd?
A
What's your
nightmare
nightmare?
session. Like
A lot of them.
somehow I've organized a game and I've told them that it's an Iscloft game, and I've given them all this stuff, right? And here's how you make a character. You know, you have the following options. This is what you have to do. You have to be a human. You have to blah blah blah. And then get to the game, and three of the players have those characters, and two of them have normal D&D characters, and are unwilling to pretend like they're not, or like we're just like unwilling to read the stuff. That would be very annoying. I once ran an all-human Mythic China game where someone turned up as an all-human Mythic China non-magic game where someone turned up as a dragonborn necromancer, um,
Oh,
which is where the dragonborn hate would come from. That would be very frustrating to me. Other things, like uh, players who are like so mechanically minded that they're unwilling to, um,
hand wave.
anything. Yeah, handbrake anything. Like everything is a roll. Absolutely everything. Like I can't be like, oh, you get a critic, you get critted, right? Let's say, and he hits you with the rim of the shield, and you get knocked down. Okay, but am I prone? Yeah. Okay, but like, can he cause that condition? Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They start
You know.
asking your questions as if you're not doing your job right.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I know what you mean there. That's a very
That's
good point. I
quite
have come across
frustrating.
people like that when they're like, yeah, but have you taken this into account? And this and this and this is like, you've fallen over. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I take
Shut up.
right. You have fallen over. You're
Yeah.
on the ground. You're on your ass. And yeah, I know what you mean there, man. That is frustrating.
On the other side of that, frustrating is when someone doesn't know the rules at all.
Oh God,
You know,
annoying.
like too far the other direction is a pain in the arse as well.
Yeah.
Um,
that's a really good point. Yeah, people that will play for a long time, but just not.
Yeah, people who don't get the tone of a game.
Yeah,
it's like it's.
I can actually imagine you waking up in the night. Oh, I just had a horrible dream. This person, he didn't get the tone of my game.
This is I mean, among some people, relatively famous example where I think it was that same China game where the Dragonborn wizard like cast Mordenkainen's mansion to get them a place to rest, right? And then during that Mythic China game, like basically a historical game, was like, thanks Mordenkainen. Like that's a real thing that happened, right?
Oh my God. Oh, tell me this game is recorded.
It's somewhere on my channel for sure. Yeah.
I will find it. I'm going to find it. For those of you interested, search into the depths of your LDM playlists, and you will find the mythic China game.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, people are not getting the tone of a game. So like it's a grim, fucking serious death march through like a winter misery land or whatever, right? And it's all awful, and it's like people are getting frostbite and stuff, and then somebody's just like cracking jokes all the time.
Yes. Oh my God.
Don't do it.
Absolutely the worst. Yeah. This is the thing. Really question. Like, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love humor, and there's a lot of humor in my games and in games that I play, and I find because I embrace that when it happens. But when you're playing with someone who isn't funny, and I know that's horrible to say. Sure, it's horrible to say, but some people in this life just aren't gifted with humor, and that's fine because they have amazing other attributes to their personality. But some people just aren't funny. So when they try and crack a joke, and you're like, I'm not really getting that vibe, man. Can you not have it? But then you're like, can you not have as much fun as you're having, please? Is that a bad thing to say?
Can you just tone it down just a little bit?
Can you just tone down what you're like as a person?
Yeah.
That's a dreadful thing to say, isn't it?
It's terrible, yeah.
It is, but at the same time, it can be annoying.
Yep.
Can't it? Am I alone? Let us know.
Very much so. There's another...
we're horrendous human beings in the comments, please.
There's another example of someone turning up to a Roman Legion game with a rapier and a crossbow.
A rapier and a crossbow.
To a Roman Legion game. Neither weapon existed.
Nope.
The
closest thing to a crossbow would have been a scorpion, which launches those huge javelin things.
There would have been a gastrophetes, which is like it's like called a belly bow, which is like a crossbow, but it's so huge that you need to basically have to lie down on the ground and like pull it.
Really?
Yes, they used to use them in the Seleucid forces. I think
was that early Roman Empire times.
It would have been during and before, but it wasn't really like it wasn't like a crossbow. It was like a.
You just sit down from a hill somewhere with it. Like that's hilarious.
Yeah. Something like that, a belly bow. But you know what I mean. Like turning up with stuff that doesn't fit drives me fucking mental. But that's like really specific to me, But
one of the most amazing breakthroughs from play, and this is from just playing a historical
Syracusan.
game.
Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay.
Nico has reminded me that it's Syracuse, not Seleucid. It's very important.
Well, no, it's funny. The devil, speak of the devil, and he shall arrive in a Nico game playing in the Fall of Troy. One of the most, and it's so simple. One of the best things I've ever heard. making a spear a D8 rather
Yep.
than a D6 because I
Yep.
was like, and I don't know why, but for years I've never considered that, and I just heard it and I was like, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. Like, I was like, why? Why is it not more? A spear is devastating, like especially in the hands of like Greek troops, and that's why I guess we did it because it was in spear heavy warfare,
Yes.
wasn't it? So
I
it
mean,
makes sense for it to be like the primary weapon and thus much more deadly.
basically all warfare up until like recently was spear heavy warfare because the spear is
Yeah,
like the cheapest, you know.
cheap.
Um,
Yeah,
well, not the cheapest, but you know, it's cheap and it's easy to use.
I just said cheap, like a
Yeah.
bird. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So it's fucking genius. I do it in Isoft as well because the spear is like
Yeah,
so important. It's a big deal.
it's a lot.
Um, so that's enough nightmares, I guess. Right? We've
Yeah,
done enough.
yeah. We went from nightmares to talking about the Trojan War.
Uh, is it frustrating not to take inspiration from each other as you all play together? They will know if you use their ideas.
Say that
Do you
again.
feel guilty for stealing all of my great ideas, Rob?
I constantly steal from Lloyd. And the only reason I have Lloyd in my games is to rub it in his face when I'm
Yes.
using his ideas. That's
I'm
what
actually
exactly what I do.
fuming all the time when I'm playing in the game because I have come up with this idea and Rob hacks into my account and steals the one shot.
Just like, yeah. I'm like, I've got this. Like, basically Law Keepers was a Discloth game, and
Yeah.
it's now a bastardization horror fest that Lloyd now has to endure.
Yeah, I lost a bet, and now I have to play in Lore Keepers forever. I don't really. I don't think steal everything like unabashedly, unashamedly steal
Yeah,
whatever you want.
so. I think so. Steal loads of stuff. Like, I mean, I definitely steal the moods of things. Like, there's no ignoring the fact that like Law Keepers has like a lot of Star Wars inspiration, like
Sure.
in terms of like how I originally built it. Anyway, like, there's other stuff, but there's lots of that in it. Like the general feel of it, high action and adventure and sort of yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all either. Like yeah.
Yeah, the Jotnet in Iscloft are lifted like just one-to-one copy of the Varl from Banner Saga. Like just took them out of there, put them in my thing, gave them a different name. Like they're exactly the same thing. You know?
I just had a double tap of hilarity. That, and also I read in the chat, Dawson just says, stealing ideas is essential, otherwise we'd be living in holes worshipping the snake.
Oh god.
That is the answer to the question. Beware worshipping the snake, everyone. Don't be
Fire worshippers and snake eaters.
Oh my god.
That's a good Troy quote for you there.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah, it was. That I realized I had actually meant to mention something to you because you know how famously your friend mistook the phrase in Lord of the Rings questions that need answering. Crystals need answering. So I was watching a clip from the Two Towers the other day where Gandalf walks in and he has hidden his staff because he's Gandalf the White and they're going in to see Theoden and Wormtongue's there. And then Gandalf goes, "Be silent. Keep your forked tongue behind your teeth. I have not passed through fire to bandy words with a," what does he say?
Witless worm.
Is it witless worm?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Because I was like, I don't know what he says there.
That section is my favorite bit of all three films where Gandalf comes to Theoden's Hall. I think it's so good.
It's so good. Badass.
Yeah.
Like, that's why, it's great to have audiences in Middle Earth because then you can just have badass conversations like that where you like.
It's the hour in which this conjurer chooses to appear. So good.
Oh my goodness me. Why should I hear you, Gandalf Stormcrow? I speak so fucking slowly.
Oh, it's the best. It's actually the best. Oh, I'm gonna have to watch that.
I know. Every time I play against the Shadow, I'm like, I should watch Lord of the Rings. But if I did that every time we played against the Shadow, I wouldn't have a life. I would keep Keep
Yes.
watching it, and you can't just watch the normal ones. They have
Oh
to be
no.
the extended ones.
Yep.
So
Oh yeah, that whole section where Theoden like wakes up and he like kicks Wormtongue out, and then he realizes where's Theodred,
where,
and
yeah,
oh
where's his
god, and
son?
then he's
Yeah.
like down there, and he's like, no fathers have to bury their son. It's too much. It's too good.
Is Two
Oh
Towers your favorite?
yes,
Because
I think it's my favorite.
is
Yeah.
it just because of that bit though, or is it because of other bits like Helm's Deep?
I love Helm's Deep. I love all the Rohan stuff.
I
I
loved
think
the opening
yes.
with It shows what happens with Gandalf. Like I was like, I've imagined this since I was a kid. Holy Christ!
Smote is a ruin upon the mountainside.
On the
So good.
mountainside. But I
Mm.
always wanted to know more about that. Like they were deliberately
Yes.
vague about what happens to him, and that always frustrated me. I'm like, what happened? What happened?
I
Like,
always wanted to see the slime Balrog. You never get to see
yeah,
it.
you never see him as slime. Yeah, he became a
Yeah.
thing of slime,
Yeah.
and yeah, man,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think Two Towers is I don't know if it's the best one, but it's my favorite one. It's got all the cool Rohan stuff.
Mm.
It's the start of like Faramir's thing. See, I love the first one because Boromir's in it, and Boromir is the best part of Lord of the Rings, in my opinion. I just love
He's a
him. He's
legend.
the fucking best. Um,
He's a legend.
just amazing.
Um, yeah, for me, it's either the first one or the second one. I think I don't get me wrong. I love the Return of the King as well, but like,
Return of the King has my favorite bit of cinema in all of cinema, which is the Rohirrim charge. That's my favorite.
yeah, that is amazing.
Just stop, the best. But I think as a movie, it's weaker than the other two.
Well, it's all resolution, isn't it? Like it's all payoff, payoff, payoff,
Yes.
payoff, which it has to be. And weirdly, they actually set out and structured the story, in my opinion, better than the books. Like
Yeah.
I think the Lord of the
Yep.
Rings films are better than the books.
I would say it too. I mean, there's passages of pure beauty in the books, but also in the films, there's bits that are just like impossibly good.
There's also a
You know?
passage in the books about a fox looking at the hobbits and wondering what possibilities could be in their future, yet also what possibilities can be in the fox's future.
Oh my
Maybe
god.
he'll find a new burrow. It's just like, why are we talking about this?
Fucking Tolkien. Let me give you 16 pages describing a river, and let me give you one for Helm's Deep. Okay, Tolkien, cool, thanks.
I am literally counting the days, Lloyd, until we meet Tom Bombadil and Against the Shadow.
Oh, never, never.
Oh, we must find him and
You
murder
know,
him.
when I think of Tom Bombadil, there was this game, Battle for Middle Earth 2,
Yeah.
and you could summon him, and he would just play that music, and he would just like dance around and fuck up all the other units, and he would like clap and stuff. All I think about when I think about Tom Bombadil is that fucking piece of music.
What would you have done if that was like how the final moment of Return of the King, like when Frodo and Gollum are like battling for the ring and like they both fall and Tom Bombadil music starts playing and, like, and then the Eye of Sauron explodes and fucking, it's like, for fuck's sake. Every time, man, you ruin the shit. Anyway,
God.
I think we're done.
There's more questions. Let's do them for once. We always just say we're done. We'll give it until 10.
Okay, all right. Well, you have to read them.
How do you handle well-known creatures in a way that does them justice?
How do what? Sorry.
How do you handle well-known creatures in a way that does them justice?
I mean, I'd say I like to think that I did the dragon pretty great in Law Keepers, but I spoke about that last time we were on this. But
Mind flayers are great.
Yeah, like to be honest, like I every time that I feature an iconic monster from the D&D pantheon, like I like to do my best to make them feel iconic because, but the thing that is on your side is that, and this is something I haven't mentioned before, there is one thing that's on your side, and that is when you hold back and you don't throw every creature into a game, when you eventually do show things like that, then it's very rewarding because you're like, oh my god, like we're actually facing mind flayers. Holy shit, they're really dangerous as well, though. Like, you know, as a player, and you can enjoy that, and that's on your side when you're bringing in that kind of like iconic. A lot of the work's already done for you. It's just down to you to portray them well, I think, at the end of the day. But maybe it will just be the reputation alone that will help you. What do you think, Lloyd?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't do a lot of well-known monsters because I don't tend to run fantasy as is.
Yeah.
I guess I would do a lot of work about
Well, you done it with giants, man. Like the Esculfin, man.
Sure.
Holy shit.
I think what I would do with like a Medusa or like a Minotaur or something like that, something like iconic, is that I would like think about how they affect the area around them, like the greater area, you know. So like think about like Crete. That's what an island the size of Crete is what a Minotaur affects. You know, one Minotaur.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a really good way of looking at it, actually. Yeah. Like
or like if
what
it was a Medusa, you would think this whole island is affected by this creature, or this whole region. You know, um,
yeah, how far does their notoriety spread and
yeah,
how much does their actual power spread as well?
yeah,
I am absolutely and have always been in love with the Minotaur. Like I think it's just a
oh yeah,
wonderful creature.
hmm
More so when it's depicted with hair all over its body.
yes.
Like I have a bit of like when it's like you know what I mean when it's literally just a
It's
man's
got the bull head and then a man's,
yeah
yeah,
like I like it when they're massive ones like the ones you see in Warcraft and stuff like
yeah.
huge
There was
stocky ones.
the 3.5 Monster Manual had a great picture for the Minotaur.
Yes, it
It
is.
was all bestial and shit. It was great.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I don't know. I would think about like how they affect the area all around them.
Mm.
Is 2018 the year in which Lloyd will play with DAP? Nope.
Oh,
Is the
who?
answer to that.
Oh, who asked the question?
Ian.
Oh, no, that's not going
Um,
to happen. I'm afraid.
not ever. How would I handle a Balrog against the Shadow? I wouldn't, because the players would be dead. Um,
Oh,
I think. I think that a Balrog is too destructive. Like I think the Witch King is more powerful than a Balrog, but less.
oh, is it? Yes,
Yes, I,
actually, it
I
is.
think
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
I think
yeah. I
so.
think you're right. I think you're right.
I think so. It's a
Yeah.
not sure
Mm,
because the Witch King was a man, um, while
true.
a Balrog is a Maiar,
Just yeah, it's
an
just a
angel
thing
thing.
of
So I think the thing about a Balrog is it's so fucking big, it's so explosive and fiery and shadowy, and like it's so that like I don't know how you could hurt it. Like, could you? I
well, they
don't think
can't.
so.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
The Fellowship can't touch it. It takes a Gandalf to take it down.
Yes. And
Like
he
it's
dies doing it.
and
You
he
know.
dies doing it. Yeah, like
Yeah.
he is not in the ballpark. So I don't. I mean, I know I say, oh, we're not going to fight a Balrog. I don't expect we would be able to fight a Balrog. I think
No.
it would be too much for us.
If there was an encounter with a Balrog, it would be you fleeing from a Balrog. You
Yeah,
know.
like fuck away from it. But
Yeah. It would be like a skill encounter of you trying to run away.
we've stayed well away from Moria so far, and I intend to keep that going for as long as possible.
Yeah. There's always this great sort of like moment of like player knowledge versus
Yeah,
character knowledge when Moria comes up because they're like,
always.
yeah, I guess we could go through Moria. No reason to think that we shouldn't. And everyone's like,
Exactly.
Balrog, Balrog,
And it's gonna
Balrog.
happen. Like I know the next half of the campaign. Like I'm invested in Against the Shadow, and I hope it goes on for as long as it takes for us to go around all of Middle Earth and round up as many people as we can. So I'm really hopeful for the time when we go to try to go for the Gap of Rohan maybe and realize it's
Mm.
being watched or something and fucking have to go through Moria. Like I would love that. We need to go to Rohan at some point.
Oh, you will. I cannot wait because Rohan's my favorite.
I am
It's my
so
fucking
excited
favorite.
about Rohan. Like I'm really excited about Rohan. We've been where we are for so long.
So long. Yeah, I know.
I
Yeah.
know. It got so complicated, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
Um, yeah, so I would use the Balrog as a skill encounter to try and avoid it, basically. I don't think a party of even high level characters in Lord of the Rings could defeat a Balrog because I think the Balrog is too magical a creature for mortals to fight.
But it's a rare
Would be-
instance of magic, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of like overt magic, you know. I think that's all the questions.
Hey.
That's all I think. Let's wave our arms around. It's
This was
Stream Madness.
that was great as well, Lloyd.
Thanks. Yeah, I've been working on that for a while.
I saw the choreography just blossom. So unless I've had a really good time, Lloyd. This has been like a really rambly.
This has been a particularly good one, I think. I feel like it was
fun. I've had a really good fun. Not that I don't often have fun.
Sometimes it's a lot of work, Rob. Yeah, with you.
Can't wait to get into bed. Try and forget about it. But no, this is great.
Yep. All right. Thank you to all the wonderful humans who decided to watch this through their eye holes. Thank you for doing that. And thanks to this wonderful human, Rob, here, for coming to sit here and talk to me. And that's all. See you guys next time, sometime soon.